these things. This is the second ones I've tried. I hear no, like if you crunch paper, I hear it perfectly, but you talk to me, I'm like, huh?
That's dangerous for me.
Let me something.
I never have stuff like this. You want any, Joe?
I don't know if I'm showing.
Thanks
you
anyway.
this, but-
You're good.
All right.
Mason, no.
Nobody? Okay. All right, should we call the meeting to order? At 5:01, and roll call, Joe.
Okay. Todd,
Present.
Slate,
Present?
Arnie,
Present?
Miller, Williams,
Here,
Trotter, absent, Sears, absent.
All right, shall we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, approval of the minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. New business, right on.
Madam Chair, could I say something for like 30 seconds real quick? There were some negative comments on social media about the lack of there being a recorded video for the February 3rd council meeting. And I just want to say, the person that usually does it was attending the coronation of her daughter at the Snow Days celebration at Pequot Lakes, and congratulations to Deb. Her daughter Natalie was the queen.
Yes,
And
I saw that in the
I think
paper.
that time goes fast with our kids, and I think everybody here had no problem with the whole set of circumstances. So I just wanted to put that in the record since we have it on video right now.
Thank you. All right. Pickleball. New business. Joe, do you want to?
Sure. Based on previous meeting where I was directed to look into pickleball, what I did is acquire quotes for 4 courts, and then 2 vendors, Lease Sports, and Outdoor Specialties. And from those quotes for 4 courts, I mathematically determined the cost of like 2 courts, 6 courts, based on, it's X amount percentage more, it should cost equivalent. To give you a range of costs, the quotes, the 2 different vendors, for discussion purposes, they're very close, I mean, they're 10-15%, which, that's a good indication, they're getting good bids. I included all the estimates I used to generate the 2 spreadsheets that shows Lease Sports, Outdoor Specialties. I included a map of the potential area you could go. That map shows it's 1.17 acres, or approximately 51,000 square feet. I didn't include the component of the size of the courts. Essentially, any size of those courts would fit in that area.
Up to 10.
Yes,
Okay, got it.
I did do the math for 10 courts, the square footage, and it's less than that. I think it's under an acre,
Okay,
which is, so that area, because north of that area, like to the east, it gets wet. Like, that's a little knob there, and then you can see the elevations, it falls off. We have some property there, but not all, and where it says like basically 1210, that's gonna be swamp ground. Any place that says 1210, that's gonna be pretty wet, not optimal for, that kind of use. And the costs, they range from, when we go to the spreadsheet, on the bottom it says pavement and concrete. I know it was identified that to look at both options. I only did acquire 1 communicated with 3 times, never got back to me. Kind of not unusual. Concrete in winter is kind of the off season. So, and as expected, concrete's more expensive. I did have conversations with both vendors. Sounds like there's pros and cons with asphalt and concrete. Some players prefer one, some players prefer other. They both seem to work. I don't play this sport. Our basketball court, for example, is pavement, and that, I don't know when it was installed, I'd say 90s. And I think it was painted one time with a similar surface treatment, and it's still pretty good shape, I think. So it's the closest thing we can compare that we have here.
Cross Lake is pavement.
Yep.
Yep, and they're very successful in putting 4 more on. So no reason, I think, to even go forward looking at concrete. I mean, it's way cheaper, and it's just as good, if not even lasting longer and repairable.
You may hear the people that favor concrete give you the argument why, but you have a good understand, like, cost. That's why you don't go after all. Anyone else do they want to discuss on that? So that's just basically the process I did to come up with the cost. Any questions on any of those numbers or quotes or, one item too that I did include was a trail. That would essentially lead out to that red area and go around it.
That was my question on the trail. Could like, I know you can get those concrete 2 by 16 by 16 inch for like $1.80, or depending, you can go a high level. Could those be used instead of spending $42,000 on a trail, or is that not logical?
It'd probably cost more money.
Really?
The pavers, yeah. They're,
And just to manually just put those square, because I've made one of those trails before. It's work, but
right, it's, I mean, essentially the pavers are concrete. I'd have to come up with an estimate. For example, we just did a 5 by, I think it was 5 feet, up at the columbarium and, or the gazebo in the cemetery. We just went around it, and that was like $1,200.
oh, wow.
Pavers have a pretty wide range of price. You can get very cheap ones, you can get very expensive ones, but generally speaking, when you're talking a hard service, I mean, asphalt comes in a truck, you
Yeah.
put it in a machine, you lay it out, it's the least labor intensive, it's generally the cheapest.
I'm just 42,000. I know the courts at Breezy Point in the golf course there don't have any trails leading up to them because it's right in the middle of a golf course. I mean, if we go forward with this, that'd be a way we could work on it, I guess, for the lack of a better term. Just
It would be a way to cut costs. The reason I included trails in there is several discussions people have said more trails around here. And also, like if this was to be seek a grant, a DNR grant or something, a lot of times it's gonna require handicap ADA accessibility.
It does.
yeah.
Which a trail may help you. And
Yes, and they will cover like half of the cost with the trail included in there.
they may cover the whole thing.
They might cover the whole trail part, yeah.
Because like, for example, our public codexes, to get that paved, we had to do stormwater, we had to do curb and gutter, we had to do it quite a bit wider. Pavement had to be thicker to meet the grant specifications. And then we applied for the grant and they paid for the whole thing.
Wow.
Whereas if we would have just paved it on our own, on the cheap, it might have been 50,000 and it wouldn't have been as nice. But it took a while, I forget how long, it was a year or 2 process for, we hired Widseth, they did the blueprints, we submitted the paperwork, waited the time, and, yeah.
And like you say, our next thing is to get more trails in there and more paved trails so people can use them with strollers, rollerblades, whatever in there. So it's a good thing. It kind of falls in line with the rest of our plan.
Yeah, and this is, this is just based on the discussion I came up with what I think would give you something to talk about.
So on the map, where would the trails start then?
It would be off of our existing
Oh, great.
trail. Somewhere. I mean, it's not real, I GIS and made sure that that would be sufficient length to get there, go around it. Like, you wouldn't have to go around it, you could cut, maybe just getting it to the opening would be enough to qualify, I don't know. But,
That's for future, but yeah.
right,
And then we'll get that more, if we go forward, we'll nail that down and walk through it when we can.
What are contingencies exactly, Joe?
things you don't expect.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There's always something.
Depending what route you go, or that this would proceed, I mean, that, if you get a very detailed plan, then you probably don't need it. If it's a project the city kinda does on its own, and we're not as sure on what we're gonna do, then, yeah, contingencies are, I mean, typically you look for 10%. It's a general number that I've always found appropriate.
You talked about bathrooms last week too. Was that gonna be portables?
That would be a discussion, like, going to, getting all the background, going into the discussion. That would be, depends which route you go.
Yeah.
If you go portable, that's the main fixed cost. If, let's say you looked at trying to do a grant, and you tie a structure into, because if you're paying a grant writer once, probably the more things you can get done, it might be a little more cost effective.
But it's not in the cost yet?
No, not at all.
Got it, okay.
We do have bathrooms out there, and there will be some right in the building
Right.
during office hours.
It's not really
so-
that, it's not
So
really that
there
far.
are some, yeah,
1,500 feet,
yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad.
so it's a walk for some.
But it's not in the middle of nowhere, so we do have some available.
We have two. I mean, two public bathrooms. Let's put it this way. One accident on the weekend and you have no bathroom. 'Cause that does happen.
You talking about the outside ones? Okay, but there's still inside ones, right?
That's the plan.
I hope so.
The plan for City Hall is to keep the lobby area open. That's the plan, that could also run into issues. Vandalism or something could narrow this accessibility. I don't anticipate that, but having your City Hall lobby open to the public versus a concrete structure with no court, there's different risks. So, I mean, I'd hope everything works fine and they'd be available, but I could see that could change. 'Cause we did experience, minor vandalism all summer until we caught the people this fall. So, yeah, there's just one toilet in each one for,
Would it be cameras? then?
Well, that's what I was hoping, and I guess,
The building would, but, if they trash something and run off, and it could lead to closures. In other cities, that's what I've had happen. People, if you can't get a control on it, you limit accessibility. And we've not had great deals of it, so it's just a discussion point, I guess.
all right, so we'll keep that in mind, and that's down the road. Parking. Additional parking for it. Say we get 6 courts or 8 courts or something, and then we have a tournament. How many, can we use the back parking lot? That's
You
the
could.
dirt one?
the dirt one, and there again, you're over 1,000 feet from.
If they're gonna run and play pickleball for a couple hours, they can walk from a parking lot, is all I can.
Sure.
I mean, that better not be a complaint if we get them
It
the
will be.
court. It will be,
It absolutely will be.
well. All right, so we can use that parking lot.
Oh,
though.
absolutely.
Okay, so we
It
do
usually
have
is.
overflow parking besides what's gonna be put in the front of the building here.
Yeah, the parking's always, if there's not enough of it, if it, you know, leaves that area and extends into the neighborhood, there'll be complaints. That's just the nature of, you know, people don't like people parking in front of their house, even though they're allowed to. That's citywide. Beach encounters it. That's weekend people, you know, packing on the place, neighbor conflict stuff, so. You know, predicting the usage, I don't know, that's a large area, that could accommodate a lot of vehicles, so.
Okay, and again, something we at least have there, and we can do more detail work on that as we get way more into this project. But that's another thing we definitely have to think about, so I'm glad you put it on there. So you've got the possible funding options, so we got the grants, the DNR is a big one that I've talked to a couple cities about. Like you say, we can use the budget, parts of our budget, like we used the 40,000 for the garden. We could use a portion of it if we need it. We can save up through a couple years of budgets, fundraisers and donations. And what I found out is Cross Lake has a pickleball association that their enthusiasts have put together to do fundraising, and they've raised, you know, like $70,000
Do they charge a membership?
in 3 months. Yeah. So you have to get what we need. I think what we need is the enthusiastic people in the community to get together and talk about it and see if anyone's interested in making a 401c3 if we're serious about this. And they raised money, and then they work with, I got all the information from TJ at Cross Lake about how much they can make on tournaments. And that is gonna pay for a lot. You can also get like the windscreens on the side of the fencing can be realtor banners, because wind is a factor, and we've included windscreens, but extra banners also help. So realtors and other businesses in the area can put up banners on those, and we charge them per year, you know, like, you know, yeah. So, and then also there's, you know, when we get the ability to have a QR code, we can have people, you know, offer, you know, to pay. Like whenever I use a trail that says, you're using the trail, want to donate? Here's a thing, I always put something in it because I want them to maintain it. So we do, I talked to Todd, and he wants to see all these things. What grants, how much we can fundraise, if we can get a group to do fundraising for us. We need, like the garden group had enthusiasts who are going to take it and be specialized in it and take it forward. We need specialists for this, and the guy you brought in was great. I know he's got another guy in the area is Ken Peterson, so Eric and Ken Peterson, and I spoke with him, and he'd be willing to get some enthusiasts from Breezy together and talk about this with somebody on our group. So if anyone is interested in leading that subgroup to get this off the ground, and then how to maintain it. He also wants to see how are we going to maintain the pickleball courts, like where's the income coming for that? So the full picture before we take it off to the council.
So when I was watched that presentation,
Yeah.
and just kind of thinking through, you know, just, it seems to me like it would make initially, you know, the first 4 courts, we don't have a tournament, tell you, of courts. So like really the focus on it being for the whole community. It's for place where everybody can play. I mean, I think that's more appealing, like, to get it going, and then as we get people interested and we see the interest, it's easier to then do more of the maintenance with tournaments and expanding it, right?
Right.
But that initial getting it accepted, in my head anyway, is a lot about, this is a place for everybody to play.
Right.
And, because, yeah, so that's just the thought as I listened to his speech that really made sense to me.
Also, over at North Star, they still don't know how many courts or where they're gonna put them yet. And they're gonna be enclosed with garage doors to open. And, but they're not sure if they're gonna go across the street or be attached to the building, they're not sure. So they're still way behind and up in the air about that, but I was told it was gonna be 8.
You know, but their focus also is not
And
going
that'll
to
be
be for it's a
fee-based.
place for
Yes,
everybody.
it'll be fee-based.
And that's where I'm feeling like it's a nice differentiator
Yeah.
without even saying it.
I mean, it should work, they should work
Work
together,
together,
you know,
exactly.
and so
That's
Ken
what I felt.
Peterson is working, you know, he's been working with North Star on their courts, and he runs courts in the cities. He has his own court in Delwood up here, his own property that Anderson put in. So he's really, he was a tennis pro. He's very enthusiastic, smart, and, you know, he would be willing to work with us. So Bill, would you be interested in taking the lead on this and getting this group together? Since you brought in the first guy?
By taking the lead, what exactly does that entail?
Well, I'll give you Ken's number and then getting this kind of stuff together and seeing what kind of people. we
Yeah, I
have.
don't mind making some calls, because I got another guy, that I don't want to use his name right now, but he said he might be interested in helping fundraise. I'm going to call him.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll call some folks. You know, I still work full-time, so my time's a little limited, but I'm willing to, you know, see if we can get some people together that we at least figure out how do we fundraise and start that process, sure.
Do we have the enthusiasm? Do we have the group of people, you know, and down, you know, can,
Right, right.
if we do, then I think we can feel more confident about, like, getting, you know, harder numbers and deciding how many and whatnot. But
can I ask
so
a
that would be
Yeah,
great.
if you want to give me his phone number.
I will, I'll send that to you, yeah.
Do we know, turn this on. Do we know what the maintenance is going forward? So how this would affect the whole budget? I mean, maintenance for 2, 4, 10 courts?
It depends on the level. I mean, really, like, is it 3 trash cans? You know, pick up.
Oh, you mean like maintenance, like
Ma-
restriping,
Well, no, just the
refinishing?
whole- Just the, like,
Keeping
when
it
we're-
going.
what
Every
should we
day,
count
on an
on
everyday kind of a thing.
yearly to maintain it, keep,
New
you know, whatever
nets.
you have to do? It seems like it kind of just sits there to me, but I don't know
I
anything
mean,
about
the
it.
nets, you know, the wind socks, the
Right.
garbage cans have to be
But, I
picked
mean,
up,
if
things like that, yeah.
Our park budget, we have to be
Right.
aware if it's significantly different from
Right.
2 or 4 to 10,
Right,
because we don't want this to take up everything
right.
going
They'll all
forward.
be in one spot, and then,
I would anticipate that annual maintenance would be low.
I would,
Garbage, trash, that's not
unless there's some damage or something.
correct, which that can happen anywhere and it's hard to budget
Yeah.
for that. The maintenance that would probably be expensive wouldn't be annual, that'd be every 10, 15 years, you know what I mean? Like, that's where the operating budget
So like, do you have
doesn't
to,
necessarily cover those things.
like, do you have to go in there and blow it off all the time if there's leaves and stuff, or sand?
True.
I mean, is
Yeah.
that kind of like upkeep?
We wouldn't be able to do it daily, I mean, once a week, sure.
Yeah,
Leave a push broom out there or something.
well,
Yeah,
that's true,
absolutely.
that's what they do. And actually, in my girlfriend's neighborhood, they have a shovel. And they are out there the minute it starts to get warm enough, and they shovel it off and play. I mean, they shovel it themselves.
Yep, I mean, right now, you know, the gazebos and that sort of items, you know, they get annual maintenance. In springtime, we clean the concrete off, blow the leaves off, clean everything up. You know, the repeated maintenance basically is just picking up trash and cutting grass.
I just know that with everything we've done to parks, one of the things that we were always conscious of was having enough in our budget to maintain what we have
Right.
before we take something on that would be a high maintenance thing, but I thought it'd just sit there like the basketball.
I don't think it would be, I think it would be the
It's not a lot more
higher
than that.
cost items, you know, when the nets wear out every 10 years, or the painting of the courts, but that's a pretty, several years. I mean, our basketball courts, I don't think have ever been painted. So that's coming up on 30 years at least. So I would look at that as, you know, you don't put that in operating, 3-4 years, courts are looking kind of cruddy, let's get some quotes up and make it a project. Similar to, you know, when the dock, we decided to replace the dock, you know, it is no maintenance until it was shot.
Right.
And it'd be pretty similar.
When is it a good time to start talking with grant writers? Because like you said about the boat landing, you know, you find out when they go looking for grants, oh, you can get this one, but you've got to do this, 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 and this. I think the more we know like that would
could get,
help us make the decision.
I could get, that's where I put like the proposals, like if I get direction to, get some proposals, I'll talk to some people and find out X, Y, Z, B, what does it cost to do this, you know, what's it gonna take? Do you need, you know, do you need engineering specifications for the court, like, all that? What does that cost to get to that point to qualify? That would probably be, you know, if the committee would like to go that route, the sooner I know, I could start working on it. You know, probably a meeting or two, I might have something to discuss. And then you could go from there. That's something.
I could also bring the person who did the grant writing for 50 Lakes, and they hired her, and then the Sourcewell paid for the grant writer's costs, so that was $6,000 or something. They paid for her, so we wouldn't have to end up footing that bill either. Plus, the grant got written, and they know exactly what they're doing. What?
You said you can write grants?
Oh, great. But I think we even had the grant printed somewhere. I thought I read, I mean, what was all involved in it.
The DNR grant, I had a discussion with the engineer and you need a site plan.
Yeah. But you've got it printed out somewhere, so.
I had a
She could
brief
overview.
discussion. If you'd like me to bring that information back to the committee next time, I could. And maybe get a little description from the engineer, because they just worked with the community, Nisswa, they did their master plan that, you know, they did this plan, the master plan, to help them in the grant process. Because the grant process is, depending which one, like the DNR one's the one I'm most familiar. Like Sourcewell grants are usually very simple to get, but they're usually pretty low dollar. Like the grant for the community garden took me 10 minutes to fill it in and send it to them. The more expensive, the bigger the dollar amount, the more work's required. So.
Yeah,
So
I
it
think
sounds
we'd like
there's
that.
consensus to at least come up with something, and I'll bring that back at the next committee. It sounds like Bill's gonna make some calls. Yeah. Does, any other questions,
I have
or?
a question.
Sure.
A grant that you would seek this year, do we have, like, the deadline hasn't passed already for one of these.
I
but
don't even
we're
know.
thinking of doing something next year with digging.
We'll have to look at the grant and see what the dates are on it. When
Yeah.
we, you know, that's the next thing. We might not make it for this year.
That's what
We
I'm
just might
thinking.
not,
It
so.
could be like 3 years out.
I don't know about 3, but
They're a process.
yeah.
That's why the sooner.
And then
we
there's
know
a
it.
chance, you know, you apply and you don't get it. And then what do you do? Jerry knows more about grants than I do, so you might have some
Hi.
questions for him.
Excuse me for overhearing some of the things that I've heard, but I hear parking, I hear pickleball, I hear basketball court, I hear the garden, and I hear baseball fields, and I hear trails, and and then I hear grants I know from previous experience that grants are very tough to get in a lot of cases. If you really do your homework for them, though, your chances are better. And what I think you're gonna need to do before you even get to a grant, or write a grant, is that you're probably gonna have to have some kind of a master plan for that whole park area. So that it doesn't look like my wife's Tupperware drawer. You know, we're gonna put it over here, and we're gonna put it over there, and I can't find the top. So I really think you need some kind of professional assistance to put together a plan for that park, so that you can look at what's there today, what you're proposing in the future. And when you go to talk to, and even solicit private contributions, if you can show these people something that what it can look like, I think you got a better chance of getting a contribution than saying, well, give me $10. You know, the more background stuff you do, the better off you are, especially if you're talking about grants. And I can't,
100%, yes.
I can't express enough that I really believe that you need to start with a plan. I think you each got a plan in your own mind, but put that on paper.
Well, we've got a master plan, which we did last year.
But
And this
But it
all
doesn't
comes from
lay
the
out
master plan.
land, Gail.
But we've talked about it, and we've been trying to get a good map drawn, and we talked about getting Woodsets to maybe do one, but we can't
I
just,
think you're gonna need to do more than just a good map, quite frankly.
Widseth could they do what you're thinking, Jerry? Cause are you thinking like an aerial?
Well, I'm thinking about an aerial, but I'm thinking about something that pinpoints today, pinpoints the future improvements. Maybe even you get to a point of saying, well, these future improvements,
Future point.
this will come in 2027.
Steps,
Maybe
yep.
will come, you know, what,
Phases,
in
yeah.
priorities, and those type of things. But I think that would be so helpful in your endeavors to get a grant. I just, without it, I think unless you're really, really creative.
well, I think it's required, at least to have a certain kind of one, maybe not exactly what you're talking about.
And that said, Sourcewell used to do some things with consultants, and if you used a consultant that they were tied up with,
Yep.
then you would get probably 50% or whatever it is. Today, Sourcewell only gives one grant to each community for $10,000. And that's, the city uses that. I think they're maybe even using that to pay part of my wages right now. But, so.
Well, we
I
did
wanna
we
caution you
did get
to not
2,000 from them
depend
for
on-
the garden too.
Pardon?
We got 2,000 from them for the
Right,
garden as
and
well.
that's a different type of thing.
Yeah,
So I'll be honest as to what I was leading to is I was thinking if we get one or two grant writers to come in and kind of pitch themselves, they would give us some of those tidbits of these are the things you're gonna need to
Yeah,
get.
They're gonna tell you that you need to do X, Y, and Z before they can even write anything.
Right.
they know
well,
exactly what we need, yeah.
Right, you know what I'm saying, yeah, I agree with you, but I was just kind of,
I'm just saying, there's
way
more
to get
homework to be
started.
done before you can go there.
Thank you, Jerry. Yep. Well, and you can bring some of that information as well, right, Kim?
Yeah, I can help as well.
So I guess what would be the next steps for talking to Woodseth and seeing like what that would, if you tell them what the scope of what we're looking for, like stage A, B, C or something,
I'll work with Jerry. We'll
what would
figure
that cost, and we're gonna have to budget that in,
Yeah, what's in our budget this year?
Well, your project budget is 50,000.
Yeah.
So that could get a pretty nice plan.
Oh, I hope so.
Just, just off my cuff, I mean, that could, you know, it's not like, you know, typically, you'd have to ask the council to authorize,
Yes,
and we'd still ask for authorization to spend funds on something like that, but first you'd have to ask for the funds to be budgeted for the next year.
yeah,
And when next year comes, the money's available, and then so we're ahead in that sense compared to old park projects. Old park projects, you know, we went through these steps, then it was budgeted, then the real stuff happened the next year, so. I will visit with Jerry, cause he has far more experience with, growing communities than anyone I know, and, he'll help me out, cause I mean, right now, I'm sure there's a bunch of different ways to go. And
So
then,
is there a date that we're supposed to be presenting something to the council?
no,
Not at this point?
no. This is just conceptual, and then seeing if we have consensus, and then
We can't
what we want to
spend
go
money
forward.
without
You know,
going
we have to
out.
get all the pieces together. And then
Right.
when we get to, like what I said, Todd wants to see a comprehensive. And the pictures and all that would be part of it. And so we're just walking along, and that's about how far we
I
are
just
so
feel
far.
like, I feel like we hardly can we start, we have no funding to start anything until we get a blessing from the council, right?
We have to give them all the information from the grants that we think we can get, the money we think we can raise, if we're gonna use something from where is everything coming from?
So we're a couple months out at least.
Yeah,
That's what we're
yes,
looking for.
yep. And then, you know, if Bill talks to a group and we get somebody to, you know, get a group of people that are enthused and can, you know, help bring it forward like we did with the garden, I mean, that's gonna be big help too, because it's the community, not just us, talking about it. It's the people who are actually gonna be the ones using it and be very enthusiastic about it, and we'll give the whole, then when we feel good about the whole picture, we vote on it, and then we pass it on.
Got it.
Yep. Anything else on that? I could get that grant writer to come in and tell us what she did with 50 Lakes. If you're interested,
I just feel like that,
then we can learn something. Okay, I will do that. I'll call her and see if she can do that. Okay. We're moving on?
Sure.
Okay. Or anybody else? Anything else on that? Okay. So to the city logos.
This kind of came from the community garden sign discussion, last fall. You know, we had the two different logos. It was an idea I ran across Gail as far as, you know, we have kind of different signs everywhere. Some signs are wearing out, some signs are metal, some are wood. And we didn't have, you know, it would be like city fishing pier. So I thought if we could blend, the current city logo with some of our city features, to see what folks thought about that, cause, you know, these were examples Leon at CLC created for us. And I know there's like two different colors. That shouldn't be like that. It should be consistent. That green should be the same. Like that, I think is just a printer
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, don't get too into the weeds on it. It's just a conceptual kind of a thing right at this point.
Yep. So he did that. And then Gail secured like a community garden. This would be more comparable to the sign we have kind of by our flowers. It would be, it's not wood, it's a more durable outdoor material.
Well, it's kind of like, it's wood, it's kind of like plywood. I mean, but put together in a way that's gonna last like 15 to 20 years.
Yep, it would be more comparable to, you know, a more aesthetic
A wood look,
look.
you know, versus metal or plasticky
Yeah.
looking.
cause yeah,
And
there's.
3D,
Yep.
it's carved.
And the approximate cost
And color.
on these would be, you know, a couple thousand on these here. And then if you're, for example, if you did a metal version, they're still not cheap. They're still $500 to $1,000, so.
Oh, they were, yeah, I just talked to, Cross Lake has, if you drive in there, they've got a new one on the way into town off of 3, where that roundabout is. They got a new one, they're aluminum and PVC. Then they've got finally where that 1950s brown sign was when you turn to go to the park, community center, there's a huge new one there. And then when you enter in, there's another one there. So that's a whole different new kind of an aluminum look. It's colored, it's painted. He said it was guaranteed for 15 years. So you could look at that. This would be wood. We're gonna get a sample of this, a mini sample of this to see what it looks like and pricing. This is a smaller sign, you know, like 2x3 versus this. Next one would be the bigger sign out at the recreation area in the parking lot. So that's what that's for. So those are the two signs that we don't have up where we have something there and we haven't signed it yet. So those are the two we're working on, but we thought if we work on these things, let's think about in the future what all the other ones are like and try to make something that's gonna be some continuity and what look do we want for it, so. I like the symbols on there because they match what's on the road signs too. And it tells you right away what you can do there. I like that. I mean, community garden, you don't really need any pitchforks or anything there. We know what that means, so. But, you know, we could use some of those,
And are these like
like walking
donators,
trail sign.
the names?
Donors,
Yeah, that's nice.
donations, yep. So we've had a few donations, like of the arbor and some money and things like that. So those are just, you know, a placeholder for what could go there, a little plaques. And we would just fill
Gail,
those in as we get
how
them.
many signs do we need, do you think? Do
I
you
ju-
think the
just 2
cemetery
right
needs a
now.
new sign?
Not presently.
No, so how many?
Just
how-
these two for right now, but
Right.
thinking into the future, we want to go with something that we can keep going with,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. But
I
you're
feel
not-
like these
I
ideas.
just want to clarify, you're not thinking of
No.
like jumping in for 5 signs
No,
all at once?
no.
To change them all over
Nope.
simultaneously?
No, just like, hey, do you guys like the idea that they're all gonna look the same and not be all different?
I
And
like it.
do we want a
it is
wood
nice.
look? Do we want a metal look? Or do we wanna keep looking around? But if we like this, then we can get pricing on it. But if we don't like this, then the people aren't gonna sit and work up pricing.
I like them.
Okay. We could also look to do it in the metal too, in the metal look, with, you know, your sources and all that. So then he can start taking that. And of course, these would have wooden posts and you would be putting those in, right?
Yeah. Install
Yeah.
signs.
So they would install.
So I think I understand.
And this is more like a 4x5, so it's huge in the parking lot.
Further investigation.
Yeah, he was gonna get it. I don't think he got done. So.
So we have signs like this already up at like the fishing pier and the city beach. I know I've seen some signs up already.
They're kind of a hodgepodge right now.
Right, they're not, there's
Some
nothing,
are
there's nothing
square,
uniform,
some are
yeah,
rectangular, some are like this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
and as Gail mentioned, trying to get if this is a style to, as things wear out,
Yep.
let's,
So they're all uniform and look the same, I see, okay.
A
yeah.
place for a QR code, you know, could be in one of these spots too, at any of these signs for more information. When we get that going through, absolutely a QR code sign, which should have been on here. You know, so that's how if someone's there and they just take a picture with their phone, donate, or just find out more information on what's up with that park or that trail or that pier, or whatever they're at.
The community garden, it says your name, is that for
That's for-
marking where people have paid for their plot, or
No,
is that
just
for
donated.
donations?
Donation.
Okay,
And we wouldn't even, you know, we'd start with 2 or whatever, and add on as we get them, or how many ever we have, we're just gonna leave some space. And this might not be the exact proportions right now. We have to figure out what plaques we're gonna use and all that, but
Yeah, our
It's
current
just-
sign, right by the flower garden.
Yeah, go
has
look at
the
that.
listed donations under it.
it's
We just
very
got that
similar to
retained.
that size and look. So look over there, just in that parking
Pretty
lot.
big.
It's only like, it's narrower and taller, and this one might even be a little smaller than that, because it's gonna be right in front of the door of the garden. That's kind of, maybe even a little bit bigger. So next,
I think
do we like the rounded on top, squared off on the bottom versus all round? Or versus
I really
oval,
like this.
I like this shape.
this shape? Anybody else? Yeah?
I like the oval because the squared bottom reminds me of a tombstone to a degree. But that, I mean, what do I know, you know?
Well, it does look like one, if you look at this picture right here, it looks like it's lying down, actually.
Joe's shirt, I mean, there it is.
But I
Joe's
mean,
got
yeah,
it,
that's
yeah.
how it is on our logo now.
Yeah, our current logo, you know, the water's the end of it.
Yep.
essentially.
And then again, that leaves room to put the QR codes and whatever else we might need to add onto that sign. All right, so we're gonna go with this one. Got it. And we'll come back with some more firm pricing on those, and hopefully we can get them in, so we can have them up and running this year
So
in our
they-
parks.
Whichever, it's gonna be the colors, the green and orange. and blue.
Yeah, the colors would be the same as our current, unless we decide to update them, but I don't.
I can find it. It's been here for years,
Yep.
it's in the logo.
Then, are we gonna move on to staff reports then? Okay.
The snowshoe route, signed flag, those signs showed up. The guys, we talked about, designating sledding hills, but it seems like they kind of designate themselves. This is my understanding, there's people sledding all over the place where the hills are big. Don't know if we really need to designate it. That's pretty much all I had on that. Follow-up from a couple meetings ago, that was some direction I was given, and that's,
The only thing I can think of that is, you know, someone asked me like, I know you were at Park and Rec, where is there a sliding hill? And I said, oh, right, and they live in the neighborhood, and they didn't know that you could park in that parking lot and you know, go in and use that hill, and that we were leaving a bathroom up there, so, you know, when we have more staff and we have the web, and
Plus, there's signs up there right now on the highway, but, yeah.
Facebook updating, yeah, but they don't really know where to, I mean, when we get this sign in, that goes in front too, because it's just kind of,
it is very common to our community. I mean, there's a lot of people that live in our community that don't know they live in the city of Breezy
2
Point.
blocks away. It's like, yeah, there's
They
one
think
right
they
there.
live in Pequot Lakes or, and we have people in Pelican Township that think they're part of Breezy Point. It's part of what our community is about, you know, it's not square blocks and clearly defined. If you keep to yourself, you can not even know you're in the city of Breezy. I get, every year and new people, I mean, there's new people always filtering through. There's, some people come for 5 years, they move on, the new people come in, and it's the same old questions, over and over. Like, for example, before I started working for the city, like, I did not know you could go into the resort. I thought that was a private resort, guests only, and that's a city street. Doesn't seem obvious, but Nisswa has similar deal like around Grandview. That's a city street. You wouldn't think so, like where I grew up. It seemed very awkward to me navigating this area because I farm kid, section roads, everything's square, and then I moved up here and it's like, this feels like a driveway. I should not be on here, but it's a city street.
I think we just, for lack of staff, the website, the Facebook pages aren't just getting, I mean, putting out things like that on an annual basis, like the website should be updated and, you know, if they click on Sledding Hill, then there's where you park and there it is, but we're not able to do that right now.
Yep, but these are questions I've had repeated, you know, all sorts of things, so.
There were a few community events, I know there's the Aviation Day, and there was something else, and when
Ice
those,
Fest,
yeah, well, when some of those things happen, maybe, you know, we should think about having a booth or something and
We
handing
have.
out things.
we have done that for, golf cart, permits,
Yeah, yeah.
we have done that at Aviation Days. We had a booth last 2 or 4 or 5 years. And there's, you know, police officers there, but I think it's part of the
National,
character. of
not
the
national,
community.
but,
The neighborhood,
the one
whatever.
around here, we've had representatives from the garden go to that, and
Yeah.
then we told them this is where the new garden's gonna be, and things
Yeah.
like that. So, you know, just in community events, tell them what's in the community, because we are doing things, and when things are changing, we're adding things, so it's good.
If
But yeah,
something
that's a
I
good
can
idea.
help with, let me know.
Yep,
That's
no, that
something
sounds
I'm
good.
used to.
I'd love to.
More people know,
Yeah, so that's
the more things
Well, I'm
are
just
used.
happy we have snow. If we can snowshoe and slide.
Barely, but.
All right, and so we're moving on to the community garden.
Yep. Just kind of an update, items to be, that remain, that, you know, we need to get buttoned down, by springtime, you know. Basically, there's approximately 2,500, and now it's less than that. We've acquired, we're acquiring the final water stuff, the sprinkler heads, control zones in preparation for spring. But like a compost bin, spigots, hoses, spray nozzles, the garden group is gonna acquire those. They're trying to acquire those, so hopefully we don't have to purchase those
Yeah,
out
it
of the
was in the community, yeah.
budget. The yard waste bin, plot markers, rules, signs, all those items remain, you know, where to put the arbor, put the benches. Essentially, the things that don't fit in that $40,000 budget that the council, gave out last year, going forward this year, you know, if we can't get these items under that budget, we could take it out of park operating budget, we could take it out of the park project budget if necessary. And I don't, you know, I can't say that we're going to need to, just because we're not done yet. Once we get done, we'll address it as we get closer. I anticipate, you know, once the ground's frozen, that's when we can get to work. So that can be anywhere from April to June. Because most of the hardest, the work that's gonna take the longest is digging the water lines and irrigation system. And after that, you know, some of those other items won't impede it working, so. And, then as far as, this was last week, how many are, reserved? The 10x18s, we had 18 reserved last week. The 4x8x17s, we had 2 out of, I think, 4 or 5. And then,
5.
The 4x32s are 13. So it's like half
More than
full.
half of those are
It's
gone.
over half full, and,
Yeah.
since I tallied the numbers last week, I think 2 or 3 more have gone, and I had another question, so I would anticipate, I mean, if they don't go this year, next year, word of mouth it'll be full.
And there's 2
of
people that aren't in our
I think
community
as soon as
that
the weather
signed
warms up,
Yes.
people will think about it.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of people are gone, and the
grocery
ones that are
prices.
gone,
Want to grow
We'll be
chickens
back.
in there.
yeah. Yeah, so we're actually pretty happy about this at this point. We were thinking about 25% would be rented by now, we were hoping. And so we're at 50 and we're ahead of the game, so we're thinking that's good.
Yeah, and the folks I've done several of the reservation, take their money and stuff. They're very excited about it.
Yeah, they're very enthusiastic.
They like,
Their
it's a
second
good
day.
project. They're excited for that.
So this is the ad that Leon at CLC, Community College, people did this for us. They made our little logo too, and they did this for free. And we put that ad in the
Community ad.
community ed for Pequot Community Ed, so that is in there. They can't sign up through them, but it tells them where to go. And then we're using this as just flyers to put around town. So if you know of anywhere to put one of these up, or one or two, and you can take some, they're over at City Hall, and Joe can print out more. Our garden group is putting them up where we know, like there's a bulletin board, like at the gym or at the grocery store, or whatever, your church. Please grab some and take them and put them up. That would be amazing. So that's free advertising for us, and it looks really nice. And
It is
I just
nice.
think it's just great because the kids at the college can show that this is the work they did too. And it's a win-win for us. And our logo, our city logo's there, and our QR code is there. So when they click that, all the garden guidelines come up, and the registration form to our, yeah, try it.
Yeah, I have a question
I
for
hope
you.
it works now.
Before this starts, are you getting all the people together and then gonna give them like instructions, like what is
Yeah.
organic fertilizer?
Yes,
Where do you get it?
absolutely. Good question, yeah. The group is getting ready. We were trying to figure out an open house, or a grand opening, I should say, and Todd was interested, but with all that's going on at City Hall, we're probably gonna
I-
not do
I
a
was
big
just
deal
thinking
until,
For the signed up
yeah.
people,
those
they may
people-
want
It's a requirement.
verbal.
It's mandatory. We're having a mandatory meeting, and then we're gonna record it. And the people who couldn't make it then can go to watch it on the YouTube or whatever that we're gonna record from the initial meeting, just to say what the rules are, have question and answers. And then we'll have seminars on all the different things, like we'll have not all the different things, but a few key things, like what should you use in the soil and what you shouldn't for fertilizer
What's
and for amendments
compostable.
and whatnot, like that, yeah. Yep. So, that's pretty exciting. Yeah, so definitely, if you can help with any of that, or know anybody who could donate hoses or spigots or anything else, that would be great. And so that is good. That's the last thing. Then committee reports. I just wanted to show you what the Arboretum's doing. They're doing bike,
That's cool.
yeah. And they're working with Cuyuna to design these, so they're entry level, so that then people can go to Cuyuna and, this is their start, and then they can go there and mountain bike in the woods there. So they're doing, I thought, quite a, it's gonna be the central Minnesota's largest bike park. And I think,
Is this going to connect to the Crosby?
no, this is gonna be at the Arboretum in Brainerd,
Okay.
at the Arb.
Like way back in the back where they have all that.
Yeah, you can, they've already started digging, like, where the gardens are, across the road from that on the other side. They can't ever build anything there because it's wasteland where
I used to play golf there when I grew up.
they've,
Well, it's an old dump.
yeah, they dumped everything, so they can't dig in there, so they can do things only above ground, and that's the perfect thing, actually. I mean, they got the skiing, we were snowshoeing there last weekend. So, I mean, it kind of in parallel to kind of similar things we're doing, but, in some of our little places that are left for future thinking, I mean, we could do a little something like that, maybe down in some of those spots we have off of our walking path, so just wanted to show you that, and I thought they did a really nice job of, and then they have a donate, like, here, look at this, donate on this page, so.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
So they're thinking, we're gonna be thinking the same way.
Yeah.
So that's all I had. Anybody else?
I don't think it's something I'm going to do anytime soon. but
Well.
I appreciate it for other people.
Yeah.
But it's a good thinking.
They also
Yeah.
they're really booming. They just put up a natural play area They made a big hill with a tunnel going underneath it, and then just wood and digging things and sand, a big natural play area, and an outdoor, like just a little stage for musicians. And just lots of cool things are happening there, so. Yeah, if you ever get there, check it out. All right, does anybody have anything else to report? And we didn't have any open forum, so I guess we can call the meeting to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor to adjourn?
Aye. So Gail, do you have that phone number if you
Yeah,
can?
I'm gonna give you that, hold on. And I already spoke to him, and he's already gearing people up for it, so.